I'd like to add my thanks for the tremendous hospitality and generosity of the organizers who brought us all together for this occasion. So thanks once again. One of the great cultural achievements of the modern age has undoubtedly been the vast attempt to recuperate the cultural and spiritual legacies of earlier civilizations. An investigation carried out by generations of scholars over the past 2 centuries or more. No doubt, a part of this enterprise has been the restless desire to compensate for the alienating effects of modernity and its globalizing sequels. The search for authenticity in the past includes the fundamentalist quest for the original purity of religion in the absolute authority of Scripture, as one sees in neo-Salafi movements in Muslim contexts. But there are also more cosmopolitan attempts to engage with the past, and such a motive has played an important part in the scholarly study of the great Andalusian Sufi, Ibn Arabi, since the early 20th century. In this article, I'd like to present an analysis of one of the most original, reasoned interpretations of the thought of Ibn Arabi, proposed by the Egyptian scholar Nasr Abu Zayd in his important Arabic study, Thus Spake Ibn Arabi, Hakada Takallama Ibn Arabi, published in 2002. Abu Zayd there develops a literary interpretation of Ibn Arabi that attempts to deal with some of the key problems of modernity, particularly in terms of religious pluralism and the relationship between religion and the intellect. I should add that the significance of Abu Zayd's argument needs to be appreciated in relation to the persecution that he himself has suffered for his academic writings. Abu Zayd's major scholarly contributions have been in the realm of the literary interpretation of the Quran, to which he has devoted several major studies in Arabic, and I will not read all the titles, but simply assure you that he has a remarkable contribution to the study of the Quran, as well as contemporary reformist thought in Islam, and an autobiographical account as well. But Abu Zayd's interest in Ibn Arabi is nothing new. In fact, his doctoral dissertation was written on the topic of Ibn Arabi's mystical interpretation of the Quran. This was entitled Falsafat al-Ta'wil, the philosophy of interpretation, and I've just learned that Dr. Ceyhan, who presented a paper yesterday, has completed a Turkish translation of this important early study by Abu Zayd, so I am sure Turkish readers will appreciate that when it appears in print. Subsequently, as he himself has documented, Abu Zayd, as professor of Arabic literature at Cairo University, encountered a concerted campaign of persecution from Egyptian authorities on the basis of his scholarly work, particularly on the Quran. His website briefly summarizes the result as follows. In 1995, a Cairo appeals court ordered Abu Zayd divorced from his wife on the ground of his alleged apostasy. With his wife, he has been living in the Netherlands since. End of quotation. He presently holds the Ibn Rushd Chair of Humanism and Islam at the University for Humanistics in Utrecht. By his own account, he studies modern Islamic thought by critically approaching classical and contemporary Islamic discourse in the field of theology, philosophy, law, politics, and humanism. The aim of his research is to suggest a theory of hermeneutics that might enable Muslims to build a bridge between their own tradition and the modern world of freedom, equality, human rights, democracy, and globalization. This is Abu Zayd on his own activities. Thus Spake Ibn Arabi invokes by its title the famous work of Friedrich Nietzsche, Also sprach Zarathustra, as the author himself has acknowledged to me in personal conversation. It was in that work that Nietzsche proposed some of his most characteristic themes, including eternal recurrence, the doctrine of the overman who transcends morality, and the will to power, using a fictionalized Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, as a spokesman for his own critical philosophy. Abu Zayd does not go further than the title in invoking Nietzsche, and in truth, his book demonstrates a personal engagement with Islam and the Sufi tradition that is far from the profound alienation from religion that is articulated by the German philosopher. Nevertheless, the explicit reference to Nietzsche's work may indicate that there is a similarity insofar as Ibn Arabi, like the fictional Zarathustra, stands for Abu Zayd as the model of the philosopher who provides a liberating teaching, but leaves it to those who follow to advance to the next level, rather than staying to assume a position of authority in a traditional sense. I'm going to skip over a brief outline of the table of contents of the book. I just want to say that I'm going to focus on the third and fourth chapters to investigate the topics of religious pluralism and the relationship between religion and intellect. Now back to the introduction of the book. The introduction opens with a vivid description of the ritual of chanting the recollection of the names of God, dhikr, an essential Sufi practice. Abu Zayd recalls his Sufi-minded uncle Hassan, whose dream of the Prophet Muhammad was instrumental in pointing Abu Zayd towards the study of Sufism. So the book opens with symbolic gestures towards Sufi initiation. From the beginning, Abu Zayd has approached the subject from the perspective of the problem of intellect and spirit in Islam, which he feels can be resolved by the category of spiritual experience, which I will return to in a moment. Though he wanted to take up the study of Ibn Arabi while in Egypt, Abu Zayd was only able to accomplish this when he received a fellowship to study at the University of Pennsylvania, where he was able to devote the serious time needed to read the works of Ibn Arabi. It took him 2 years to read the Futuhat in its totality, at the same time studying works on philosophy and religion ranging from Origen, the early Christian theologian, to Gadamer. Having devoted over 2 decades now to the study of Ibn Arabi, Abu Zayd asked himself whether the Andalusian master could be considered modern. A sort of answer came when he discovered, to his surprise and delight, that there were circles of readers in Europe and America, such as the Marhiuddin Ibn Arabi Society, who demonstrated a strong contemporary interest in the Shaykh, even to the extent of distributing audio recordings of the poetry of Ibn Arabi. At this point, Abu Zayd breaks into a citation of the famous verse by Ibn Arabi, "My heart has become a receptacle of every form," which concludes with the celebrated couplet, "I follow the religion of love. Wherever its camels turn, love is my religion and my faith." Abu Zayd observes that indeed love is the root of his religion.